j'ai changé la vitesse de votre électrophone.
Ho, ho, ho.
45 tours.
And welcome to...
You know, you sound a bit like Frank there.
Yeah, that's me just
Moxie,
saying
Moxie,
that
motherfucker.
today I am quite ill. How is everyone? Have we started? Have
we started?
Yeah,
Steve.
I think we should start. It's a brand new year. We are a little bit behind.
Or a lot behind. Don't worry about it.
I was gonna say, don't worry. It's again, it's only it's a little project, you know. It's an ongoing thing. There's no strict routines and schedules, you know. It's still early days.
There are
Hopefully, no
mistakes.
pressure, you know.
No mistakes, only happy little accidents.
To be honest, I don't think anyone would have noticed anyway. Really.
Nobody care.
We've had our 250 hits on the entire channel since we started. You know.
We're famous now.
Yeah.
Clearly. We won the game that is the internet, so...
yeah, we need to get... I mean, we wanted to do a Christmas special, really, and talk about our memories of different Christmases, but you know what? All that's done.
That went out the window.
Seems inappropriate now. So.
I died. You're dying.
I am dying. I went running yesterday, and in the cold and the rain, thinking, I'm building up, because I've got a lot of training going on for the Army Reserves at the moment, and I came back and started to get ill. Obviously, I must have had a...
You started to get ill?
Not flu, but at least it's not flu. It's just a bit of a bad head cold.
It could be worse.
But I'm just sneezing like crazy at the moment, and my throat's probably a bit...
So if you hear anything weird, you know what it is.
Yeah.
Feeling a bit hoarse?
Yeah.
Me.
I don't sound like a horse.
Okay. All right.
I don't think so. So yeah, we've got the swing back in action. You know, that's another new mix who just sort of stolen from SoundCloud. We'll have to give a bit of a... I mean, it's very quiet in the background. You can barely hear it, but give a bit of a credit check. This is by In Control. Electro Swing Champion Mix. This is swing number 1. So if you type that in on SoundCloud, you can actually get it, and it's available for free. So
yeah, check out the music. It's always great.
So we're not doing the Christmas edition now. How's your Christmas been? How's
I was dying. Christmas, finished college, everything was great, and it was It was not New Year's Eve, not yet. It was Christmas Eve, and I was ill. I had the flu. I was sat there in bed, didn't really want to move.
Oh yeah, do you know what I forgot about that?
I
completely forgot about that because I didn't really see you over Christmas. I think we spoke a couple of times.
Yeah, we spoke a couple of times.
And that was the main reason why we were unable to get the show done, because you were ill on critical days and that.
Yeah, it was pretty crappy, but other than that, Christmas was fine. Saw the family. Probably the only time I'll see the family this year.
Right, okay.
And then at Christmas in 2016, we'll see them. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit like that with mine, really. I saw bits of family and friends and that. It was a good time. Pretty, very busy. So busy. I didn't. Usually I focus on music when I've got free time, but this time, I wasn't able to do that. I wasn't able to do much exercise, so I need to get back into all that now.
We all do, to be honest. We all do. I need to hit the gym again.
Definitely. So unfortunately, I didn't do a lot of gaming this Christmas. I really wanted to focus on that a bit, but I've just not had time. But did you play much during the Christmas?
Christmas. Well, I think the week before Christmas was the last beta test for Blade and Soul, which should be releasing this month actually.
Right. Okay.
And it's MMO. Which is it's heavily based on martial arts.
Right, okay.
So it's it draws a heavy influence from martial arts, and it plays like a fighting game.
Right.
With more buttons, which is why I love it. I love fighting games, and...
Is that the one that looks like it's a very anime-like? Or is it, am I getting mixed up? What's it called again? Sorry.
Blade and Soul.
It's Soul.
They made an anime for it. It's terrible. Don't watch it. It's useless.
I remember seeing something recently that looks a game that looks very, very much like an anime sort of game.
The person who did the art style for it his art is based in an anime-esque style, but the game doesn't look like that.
Right. Okay.
But it's based heavily around fighting game mechanics. There's a very combo-oriented classes, like a kung fu master. It all revolves around getting your opponent grounded and then pinning them and grappling them on the floor.
Right. Okay.
A destroyer who has a big two-handed axe will pick their opponent up and smash them with their axe. Assassins have a lot of combos where you use a landmine, or you will kick your opponent to up into the sky.
So essentially, it's like a tactical beat 'em up in some sort of senses. I suppose
it's not tactical; it's more combos. It's
well,
beat 'em up.
I
just
imagine, I just imagine it being more fiddly and more. You had to really understand your characters rather than just go into it and just mash all the buttons.
Well, I think the thing that you have to distance it from a fighting game is the fact that there's not 30 odd characters in the roster.
Right.
You've got about 6 classes.
But what I'm saying is it like a very fast pace? It's not like Marvel
it is
versus
very
Capcom.
fast-paced.
Right, okay.
But I wouldn't go to the extent of saying it's as fast paced as some air dash fighters out there.
Then again, I mean, you've not played it yet, so only time
I've
will
played
tell,
it.
really.
I've played
Have
it.
you?
I've played it. Yeah, I was in
played-
the beta test.
Oh, right, yeah. Sorry,
And,
I'm being dumb. Oh, I'm thinking this is
don't
something you
worry.
want to play in this year. We're talking about what you played at Christmas.
Oh.
Of course, you played the beta
Yeah, I played the beta test just before Christmas. And
Right.
I played the assassin in that, and it's a lot of fun.
test. Yeah.
You can start the player versus player from as low a level as level 2.
Right.
I jumped in around level 13.
So when's it actually planned on getting launched? The full
I think
title.
the launch date is the 19th, and if you bought a Founders Pack, you have access to early access on the 16th,
Right. Okay.
3 days prior. Name reservations started on the 11th, but I know it's a game people have been raving on about for years. It was originally a Korean MMO, and it's been out for ages.
Do you know what? I've heard of this. I don't know if it
wanted
was.
it for years.
I don't know if it's what you've told me or I've read about this. I know what you're on about. Yeah. I do know a little bit. Yeah, it's. I think I've read a little bit on Romup Forum that there was. Yeah, it's been out for a while, but it's basically essentially a beat 'em up but RPG.
Yeah,
you
pretty
know.
much. I call it the fighting game for MMO players. Or
Yeah.
The MMO for fighting game players.
So is it like a 2D beat 'em up?
No. It's a 3D MMORPG with
Right.
the obviously fighting game
Right,
mechanics to it.
I've not seen a lot about it, but I just remember a few weeks ago reading something about this RPG beat 'em up that had already been out a few years ago, and taken it off really well in Korea, like you said. But
Yeah.
it never really been ported to the Western world, and it was apparently coming out. And
It's
I know
really
that
big
you
in
say.
Korea. In fact,
I
it's
don't-
one
I've
of
not
their
seen
top
anything,
esports
on
in
it.
there.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, that as well. Something of it. Now you mention it, I do remember. It's
I
quite
will
competitive.
try and get some footage as soon as it releases, and
Yeah.
we'll probably put some up on the channel. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was playing at Christmas. Other
Anything
than
else?
the standard stuff, I got Black Ops 3. I got the new Call of Duty. It was
Really.
more of a nostalgia trip. It was like zombies. Me and a friend, a friend of mine named Lewis, we've played zombies since World at War. I
Yeah.
was about 11, 12 at the time, and we've played ever since World at War. So we've played them all.
I probably played a little bit of that when you were that age, yeah, because it was about that many. Well, it might even be longer. Now thinking about it, yeah, 6, 7, 8. No, it might have been about 8 years ago that I played. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I would have been 10, 11.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been playing since then, and he's recently just bought a PS4 and he's got Black Ops, and I couldn't decide whether to get it or not, and I caved in and bought it.
Right.
I'd like to say I hate it, but I don't.
How much did it cost you then?
A pretty penny.
The thing is, with games like that, I always see them. I suppose if you're a fan of them and you get them for the reasons for you want to play them, you know you're gonna pay full price for it, and it's fair enough. But I know
35.
games like that. You know that they're just gonna shoot
do
down
rip
in
you off.
price. It's
They do
one of
rip
those
you
games. That's where I don't mind certain games. You know, like obscure RPGs and that. You know they're gonna retain the price, and I kind of like getting them for that reason. It's not necessarily just that reason. I mean, obviously, it's all about the gameplay as well. You know,
Yeah.
but I do quite. It does irk me a bit when I know I'm getting a game and I know if I know that it's going to be like a $5 in about a year's time, it's like, oh, may as well just wait. But then again, on the other side, it's always good to be at the forefront of when a game gets launched. And if you have got a bit of a community around you, especially if you say online and you're chatting to people that are out there at the time,
that's
part of the experience. And I feel that that's something that I miss. You know, like just recently I've been playing, like I said, Demon Souls, which is something I'll go on to shortly. But what I found interesting in is on Romok, gaming forum I use, I'd kind of resurrected the thread from it's been updated recently, but
you're not necroing threads, are you?
No, we were only talking like November or something like this year.
Cheeky boy.
Not that bad. But since then, there've been about 3 people who've been like looking to buy a PlayStation 3 just to get this game, and it's just sparked some interest. And I really like that. I really enjoy that, like, you know, getting involved. Yeah, because I'm learning stuff about the game, and I'm getting involved in the banter, and it's quite cool. Whereas like sometimes you'll get a game and you might sort of want to talk about it, but there's not as much of a following, and you're kind of like left out, you know. But I mean,
the thing with Demon Souls is I don't get me wrong. I'm a fan of hard games. I enjoy playing games through on the hardest difficulty. I mean, last year I started Dragon Age Inquisition. Straight away Nightmare. It's something I always do. It's just hardest difficulty, go. But with the Demon Souls, it always it seems as though they went a bit stupid with the difficulty.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? It's like, I enjoy a hard game, but like sometimes it feels like they take it too far. I mean, I know the combat's supposed to be, it's like quite slow paced. And there's quite dodgy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go into that anyway. I wanted to talk about that. I mean, that's one of the new things that I'm playing at the moment. I mean, what we've not mentioned yet, although it'll say it in the title and the description, the show's pretty much, we've not got like a proper concise plan. We're going to chat a bit more like the old format of the early shows, but we decided to just cover the year in general, how our year's been for ourselves personally, and just in general in the scene as a whole, and talk about, you know, what our views are of how it's been and the games that have come out, because it's been quite an interesting year. But I mean, like again, like for me over Christmas, I've been playing Assassin's Creed 3 quite a bit.
That was the one I never played.
That's the one. I've given it a little bit of a rest at the moment, and I'm probably about 80% into it at the moment. It just, you get to a stage where there's so many side quests, and even though you don't have to do them, I always feel the need to kind of go back and try and do them to my best of my ability, and it just ekes away more and more time, and it feels like I've been playing it for hundreds of hours at the moment. I think that's just because a lot of the game you can be away from doing the exciting storyline bits, and you can just be roaming around like trying to catch animals or you know, trying to find chests or trying to find a piece of paper floating in the air and the Almanac pages, and after a while it can get a bit too much, and you just think, what am I doing running around collecting this, that and the other? But I suppose it's how you play it. It's better if you try and pace things. It's a good game though, Assassin's Creed 3, definitely. I thought I may have actually finished it by, it would have been the last game that I would have finished last year, but with me being pretty busy over Christmas, just never really got a chance to do it, you know. But I've just recently put that on hold and just started Demon Souls, which is what you were talking now. Now this is an interesting one. It's a game that I've really had a lot of anticipation to get into.
I don't get the hype. I don't get the hype. I mean,
but you've not tried it yet. You don't like know enough about it because you've never played it. Obviously I didn't get the hype. I didn't know what it was about. It was all about this brutal difficulty.
The last time I tried it, I was like 13, 14, and
so you have tried it.
Yeah, but it was I couldn't appreciate it because I was playing things like Halo, and I was too busy playing Halo
Which one was it you played?
I think it was Demon Souls. It was Demon Souls or Dark Souls.
Right.
All I remember was like trying and dying. And
Demon Souls
and dying again
came out. Demon Souls came out in 2009.
I was playing games like Reach, Halo Reach.
What console was it?
Xbox
Well, I say
360.
it'll have to have been Dark Souls because it's not on there. It's PS3 exclusive, Demon Souls.
Then it would have been Dark Souls.
Yeah. So
I
I didn't
tried
realise
it.
that was that old.
I tried it and just for the time I didn't like it, but at the time was
I
more
can
interested
understand.
in shooters.
You've got to realise this is one of those ones where you've got to have patience and you've got to go back. But I've played it. I'm about 20 hours into Demon Souls now, and it's interesting. It's got a lot of atmosphere to it. You essentially it's like an action RPG set in like an old worldy environment, fighting demons. You know, your typical dark medieval RPG setting. That sort of place. And when you start, I remember you start, and I was just going through corridors, fighting a few enemies, and it gives you a bit of a tutorial like, as you go around of what move to do to kill this and that enemy. And I got to a boss at some point, but I didn't know how to run at the time, and I kind of panicked, and he hit me once, and I just died. But when I came back alive, you were in this thing called the Nexus, and it's like a hub world, and you're trying to make head or tail of what's going on. And apparently that's where you go when you die. Now, I've started the game, you go into an area, it's not actually where you start, it's somewhere else, and I'm actually not sure what happens, if you can even do that boss at the beginning or what, because you only got one chance. But now you start in, like, there's a few different areas you can go in the game. I think there's about 5 or 6 different places.
Yeah.
But I'm in Boletaria or something, Boletaria. And that's split up into separate chapters, like separate levels. But it's all one big stage. You just open up extra areas and they become separate checkpoints. And the whole thing with the game is that it's brutal in a sense that it's not fast-paced at all, but it's more about understanding how your character works and understanding how all the enemies work and that. And if you die in the game, and it's very easy to die, you lose all your souls, and every time you fight an enemy, you kill them, you gain souls, and that's your currency. But you do get a chance to get those souls back, so you end up straight in the Nexus, and you've got to start that level again. And if you can get back to that same point again, you can retrieve your souls that you lost. But if you die on the way to getting them again, you lose that checkpoint, and your current death becomes the new checkpoint. So you see how that works. The problem is,
so you can like just constantly lose souls.
Yeah. To add insult to injury, or to make it more challenging, if you die and you start again from the beginning, and you start and do all the enemies again. Every enemy gets placed back in its original spot, and you've got to do it all over again. And
So
you do that
they
every
respawn?
single time, every one of them. But
That sucks.
it's you start getting into it after a while, and especially it's all right when you start. Not only have you got checkpoints for the stages, like but you've also got like shortcuts you can open up, and that was an interesting one. So you go along a certain area of the game, but you might spend about half an hour messing about and trying to get used to, how things work, where you're going. But then eventually you might open up a gate, and then you can go back to the beginning, but you realise, that gate's right near the beginning, and then you can go into a new area from that gate. So you realise, hang on, I don't have to do all that long bit again. But one of the bits that you got to be really careful about is the fact that when you use an item, you permanently lose that, and even if you
Try and cheat the system.
yeah, it's not really. I'd say it's not really possible. But there are people that claim to, you can do it in certain ways, but it's not healthy for your console to turn it off. But I've read something about every time you use an item, it saves it as you use the item, so it knows you've used them. So, like, as you're doing that, if you think about it, you get to a boss, right, and you have no idea what's going on. If you want to stay alive, you start using your items, you realise you're losing them completely. And if you just go through them all, you're essentially like, you're pretty much fucked. You're like, you're going to lose everything. And to get all that stuff back is a massive headache. But I've just got up to, I finally finished level 1-2, and I was stuck on something called the Night Tower boss. It was like, I remember getting to the first boss, and that wasn't too bad because you go around and you open up shortcuts, and then finally you open up this gate, but the gate isn't right near the beginning. And and you go through, and like this gate opens up, and you fight the first boss. And it's fairly tricky unless you know what you're doing. I did it an unconventional way. I'm not going to give spoilers away, but I did it a bit of an unconventional way when I fought it, which was a lot slower paced. But I was realising I was a bit worried about using all my items. But it wasn't too bad, because if you died, you could just go back and then retry it again. But in the second stage, you continue beyond the boss and you go into a new area. But I remember getting to this one stage, and I kept one point in the level, like quite far into it, and I kept dying over and over at this point. And there's just these knights in blue, but they're not that bad normally. But because there was a lot of enemies around, it was very difficult.
Like there was like multiple of them.
Well, yeah, there's a couple of those, but there's also like these crossbowmen. There's about 5 of those that shooting at you, and there's a dragon on your back if you go too close to it. It's a narrow area, and you can get killed very easily, and it was annoying me for ages. And I thought, oh, I'll just run past it, and then that activated a boss sequence, and I was like, you're joking. Like, so even if I do all that and get past it, I'm only going to lead myself to a boss. And obviously, if you die at that boss, back to the beginning, you got to do it all again. And this is like it's called the Tower Knight, and it's huge, massive knight, and the whole area, like there's like some towers, corner towers, and then sort of I forgot what they're called. You know, like a basically you've got crossbowmen all firing at you from like little sort of corridors all around, like basically looking in to this big courtyard. You can get up some steps and get up to the outside bits, but you got to take them all down. But then when you get to the actual boss itself, it's tricky. You've got I'm not going to go too deep, like destroy everyone's expectations. Well, I don't want to spoil it basically, but like you attack it head on. But if you're running around it and you don't know what's going on, and even knowing what's going on, it's tricky. It can attack you with it's got a huge lance, for example, and it throws its shield down and creates a wave, and it's so easy to get it. And you're talking like 90% damage sometimes, just by a single hit. And you know that so you think, do I use my health? And like even when I went back yesterday, I managed to do it, but I had to go back, and I realised by just continuously going back and build fighting some of the earlier enemies, you build up souls, and if you build up your souls, you can buy items, but you can actually, after a certain point you do the first boss, you can level up as well.
Yeah.
So there's like a woman you speak to, like an ex-demon or something. She's possibly like one of the most all-powerful demons in the game, but she's in the Nexus, and you can increase your parameters so you can get a little bit stronger, but it still doesn't really help you in the sense of getting past this boss, because he still takes off a ton of energy, so vitality. So, but it's about understanding and learning how you do it. But eventually I got to a stage where I had enough, due to grinding a bit, I had enough health items and stuff that I could just get past it. And I was like, I went in, I wasn't as worried, because I was like, first time, I'm going through these health items like crazy, and to get them back is going to take a bit of time. And I spent at least a couple of hours just to get like quite a few items and stuff back, build up a little bit, and then came back. And it was. I think when you're a bit more confident in the situation, it changes things.
Sounds like the game as a whole is like tremendously unforgiving.
But I just got to the stage where I knew how to get from the beginning of the stage all the way to that boss, which I knew every enemy and how to attack them. You have to memorize. You have to know exactly what's going on, and I was doing it without even thinking. But at first, it's really tough, and it's one of those ones. But the feeling you get when you take that down is like it's a lot of work that's paid off.
That dopamine
and I
addiction.
think this is why people are loving
It's
it.
coming.
If you think about roguelikes are an example of like a type of game that's like increased in popularity over the last few years, simply because games were becoming too easy. And not that you couldn't make them difficult, they have a difficulty, but games back in the day, like
you had one
80s especially, and then through as 90s came, they would, you had difficult games, but then they started to, there were a lot more easier games coming out, and then in the 2000s, you pretty much every game's like completable, but back then it's common to have games that you just couldn't finish. So roguelikes was scratching that itch, and then this is just an example of that. But yeah, that's, you know.
I remember playing a game on the PS2. Game I couldn't finish right. As a kid, where I lived, there was a shop where they did rentals on games, and I just got a PS2 and I saw Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy.
Really?
The first one I was like, it was £4 for a week, and me and my dad went and got it. I was like 6 or 7, completed the entire game in a week, and we moved on to Jak 2, and we actually bought this one, and to this very day, I haven't completed the game.
Really?
Yeah, to the very day, I've not completed the game. There was always this one boss I got stuck on, this Baron, and for a game back then, I think it was one of the hardest games I've played on PS2 in a while.
I've never played it. It was one that I always wanted to play. A friend of mine had it when I went to uni. The PS2 just came out, and like when I just started, and he ended up getting that. I saw it a bit. It was one of those ones that I wouldn't have minded playing. So I kicked the mic then. I wouldn't have minded playing. But over the years, I've just gone away from that style of game. I wouldn't mind going back to it, you know, but it's like a lot of the games now.
It's something I definitely recommend,
you know,
especially the second one. It was a pretty solid platformer.
From what I've heard in recent years, it's supposed to be like a complete world that, or rather, the levels become seamless. It's like a huge game where it doesn't have loading times in between the areas you go, and that was something unique to that, and you didn't get that in games on the PS2 like that.
Not really. That was one of the first games I saw that had something like that, other than from PC games.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, if you're looking for a hard game, I'd say check out that.
It is one that I've always wanted to check out. Another game on the PS2 that I almost thought you were going to say this one actually. Have you ever heard of a game called Maximo?
Maximo, no.
Yeah, there are two of them, but I've only played the first one. Maximo was... Have you heard of a game called Ghosts and Goblins or Ghouls and Ghosts?
Oh, God. They made a
guy
GBA,
in the
with the knight and the sword. I hated that.
Yeah, he's
game.
on like Marvel vs. Capcom in it, as like an extra character.
Hated that game. No matter what I did, I just couldn't. I didn't get it.
It is difficult.
I had it on GBA.
Well,
they did a version on GBA.
Yeah.
And the hours I put into it.
That was the traditional like scrolling platform game. Yeah, that is known as a really difficult game. The one I played back in the day was on the Super Nintendo, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, and I think I got as far as the second stage. Well, and those are admittedly brutally difficult. But I played a couple of years ago one on the PS2, which is Maximo. It's not, probably because of licensing reasons, it's based on Ghouls and Ghosts. It's by Capcom as well, but they don't have the rights for the name and that. So it pretty much is that. It's a guy, I can't remember if he's called Arthur or not, but he's got, it's the exact same mechanics, but it's a 3D roaming game. But it's really brutally difficult the way they do it. And for the first part of that game, I made it so difficult for myself because I didn't realise that. I thought you had to do each... You got like a set of levels that... a bit like sort of Dark Side. You got an area like Boletaria is a world, and it's got levels within that. 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. That's and so on. And then you've got a hub world. Same with that. But I thought you could only save it after you've done a full world. And I was trying to play it like that, and it was insane because not only was it difficult, I was trying to play it saving so infrequently, and it was so like I think they don't give you enough information on it. Like from when I didn't find it in a manual, but it turned out that like I could save it at a certain spot. It was like in the hub world, but I never realised it was a save spot. And all the time I was having to go and redo levels, a bit like Dark Souls. It reminded me of Dark Souls, like when I was playing that. Sorry, Dark Souls reminded me of when I played Maximo. Yeah, that real brutality and replaying levels. So obviously, when I realised you could save it more frequently, it changed that a bit. But that was another one of those kind of games. Every time you did a stage, if you died and lost your lives, you had to start all over again, and it was brutal, you know. But yeah, that's why I'm I've been involved in recently, Demon Souls and that, and hopefully I'll be able to play some Dark Souls at some point. But that's if I ever get there,
Well, yeah, I've just been for me Christmas. It was just the standard stuff. Obviously, I love my MOBAs, which means I play a lot of League of Legends.
Yeah.
I play a bit of Dota. Thousands of hours I've put into League. But I've been stuck to that like glue for the past 4 years, and I think I will probably stick to it for a little bit longer. For solo games, I started Darksiders, and I just need to find the time to finish it. But boy, I love that game. After playing games like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, it's just beautiful.
Yeah. So what about going on to the main thing? I mean, we've done it again. We wanted to talk about last year, the previous year that's just finished. And what's quite interesting about this is it's something I don't like admitting to. It's like it's not exactly a cool thing to do, but I find it quite interesting. On Romo, they've got like this every year someone makes a thread encouraging people to list down the games that they've completed, and if you just adding them as and when you go, it's an easy task to do. And I quite often enjoy looking back on games that I've completed, and even knowing the date that I've done it and I remember at the time, because it almost brings back memories of, oh yeah, I remember when I did that. And I think that came from a younger age, because when I was a kid, I had a diary, and I used to, it was like back in the late 90s, and I used to, like 97 or something, I used to rent games and that. And I played through them, and I'd write in this diary, and what started off as just a general diary, it almost became an account of what I was playing, because I was like so into my gaming. And I've got all these dates that like of games and memories back then, and it was really interesting to read up years later, find this book and read the memories of it. And I can see exactly when I played it, and it's a weird nostalgic experience, a bit like going back to an old game, but finding something like that. I'll have. Do you know what? For one of the episodes, I'll have to find it and maybe bring it up on the show. That'd be funny.
That'd be crazy. I mean,
yeah,
I've never really
almost 20 years ago
gone about documenting what I played. I just normally use my head for all that. Like I know of.
Yeah, but most people do. But like on Romo,
I know there's
someone's
thread,
over the last sort of 7 years or so, it's been ongoing. I've not done it since the beginning of that, but for the last sort of 4 years, I've just got into the routine of doing it, and I've got pretty much everything listed, the dates and the months of everything that I did last year and stuff, So yeah, like looking back to it now, I can see. I remember this time last year, it was the 17th of January. What we are now, 14th of January as we're recording this. So this time last year, I was about to go to a mate's house, and we played Mortal Kombat versus DC, and I went through that and I finished that. That was so I actually played a beat 'em up. I'm hoping to do more of that this year, and with you, because what we want to do as well.
Finally playing fighting games.
Yeah. And that was with Katana on normal,
Katana.
So,
that's who I played on MKH.
I did actually get into that. I've never been a massive fan of the the later Mortal Kombat games.
The new one's good. The new one's really good.
But when I played that, after a while, I started to get into it a little bit. But yeah, I remember playing that. It wasn't. It's not something I've returned back to and put a lot of effort into since. But it's quite interesting. But I'm hoping that this year as well, what we can do is start doing some let's play videos.
Let's play and captures.
But more on a casual level, so that we can go maybe down to mine or something. If we can get a capture card set up, we can chill out, have a bit of a drink, just have a laugh, and we'll capture footage and try and record ourselves and that maybe, and just have a bit of laugh and turn it into some kind of a show. And I'm thinking beat 'em ups would be a really
Fighting
good example
games
of
are
something.
always great.
It's something you can teach me on as well, and maybe anyone else who's watching or whatever might learn a thing or two.
I suck at fighting games,
especially
but you will know what I know.
Street Fighter 5, because that's coming out
next month.
February 16th of February, if I'm right.
I think it is
I think
the
it is.
16th of
Yeah.
February.
And when that comes out, are you getting it on launch day?
I should be getting it on launch day.
And are you
I have the money set aside for it.
The only
already,
downside
so
is you'll be
pre-order it.
getting it on the PS4, won't you?
Yeah, I was.
So the only way of doing that, you'd have to bring your PS4. You know, like if there's a way of doing that, you know.
I'd have to learn Street
Yeah.
Fighter as well.
You don't live that far away from me, anyways.
Nah.
So
but I
yeah,
suck at
so I'm
Street
looking down the
Fighter.
list. So it's just an interesting to see what I played. So February, Mass Effect 2. We got, and I know I've since finished that trilogy. So yeah, like over the last year and a bit, I've gone through the entire Mass Effect trilogy from the beginning to end, experiencing, and that's something we discussed in previous shows. But I do remember, you know, for a lot, my cousin bought me this the year before for the PS3, and we'd talk about it quite a lot, and he wanted me to play it for so long, but I never got around to doing it, and I finally started it sort of the later end of 2014, and you know, finishing that in February, Mass Effect 2, and it later on I would finish the third one as well. Oh yeah, I can see it. Quite a bit actually. It's in August that I finished the third one. That was in February. What else? I'll just go through this and then you can maybe tell me a bit about yours and stuff.
Yours and then with the mine.
Seemed to finish something else in February. Something called One Epic Game. That was a PS3 mini title. Did you ever play any of the mini titles?
No.
They've got rid of
but,
them now.
Like, I remember buying well, I didn't buy a Mahjong one. Someone bought a Mahjong one on my account because they wanted to play Mahjong. I can't remember who it was.
Well, this
Cousin, I think.
Yeah, this one. I'd already finished it before on the story mode, but I put it up because it was a game that I got back in like 2011 or something, and it was called One Epic Game, and a very simple game that was involved in someone running in one direction permanently.
Yeah.
And you could jump and shoot, and you could get different weapons and that, and you had different challenges to do. You have the story mode, which I did ages ago, but then you had challenges, and some of them were very difficult. You had to run and you clock up meters, and you had to do like 3,000 meters or whatever, or jump on so many enemies without getting hit. You know, like 200 enemies in a row, like without sustaining any damage. And I'd done a lot of it, but there was a few stages that were just so difficult. But I went back earlier in the year, and I just like, you know, like I remember spending ages like going over it and over again until I was sick to death of it. Stopped playing it for about 2 years. Whacked it back on, and within about 15 minutes, just did all like 15-20 minutes, did all the rest of the stages that I need to do. Clocked up 100%. And it's not often I do that. In fact, I haven't done that in the game like for a long time.
What, 100%ed?
Yeah, everything.
I've done it on 2 games. One of them was Modern Warfare 2, Call of Duty.
Right.
Did everything. Hardest difficulty campaign, hardest difficulty Spec Ops 2 player, everything. I will never get back, alas. Anyway,
So
what's the next game you did?
So yeah, I'm looking back into March now. This is where Resistance: Fall of Man came into it. I've really grown to like that more and more over the years, and not just because it's a great game. It's also got it used to have excellent multiplayer. I loved the multiplayer on that. I really got into that, but unfortunately, they cut the servers off. Possibly, I don't know if it was around that time or whether it was. I think it might have been last year, like March last year, and someone popped up on the forum and mentioned that they were going to shut them down. So I think I went on it for one last time just to try and play them. But it's the first one in particular. It feels a bit like Halo at times. But what I like is how you start off in it's like a 90s setting, like the 50s, and you've got old school weapons and that. But as you get through it, it starts becoming more techy and alien-like. And graphically, I think it's very good for the time. It's some of the designs and the environments, I really do like them. And I must have played. I remember there was a friend of mine came to my house, and we were trying to find some co-op games to play. And obviously, it's quite difficult, like, you know, in this day and age, a local co-op.
Yeah, local co-op's not a
Yeah,
big
so
thing.
we went round that and just whacked it on hard and played that. And I think we went through it again a second time later in the year. But that was Resistance. I massively recommend that. And that is a PS3 exclusive, and you can literally get all 3 games, 1, 2, and 3, for about £7 in total. If you
In
look for it,
total?
yeah,
Wow.
you're talking like about £2 a game, like £2-3 a game. After that, I must have Assassin's Creed Revelations. Shorter than the previous ones. I've been going through these slowly in
Third
order.
Ezio game.
That's the third one that completes the trilogy of 2 and the Ezio, and the Ezio trilogy is
The one
such a
with the
brilliant
hook
trilogy.
on his, got a hook.
Yeah, he does. He can like sort of shoot up.
I played 20
platforms
minutes of it and turned it off.
Of which one did you play?
Revelations. I played 20 minutes and turned it off. I think it was because I'd had enough of Assassin's Creed. Like,
No,
I played
that's
2.
what's happening to me. It's Assassin's Creed to me suffers from that. Sometimes I get a bit fed up of it, but I'm so invested in the whole idea behind how it works. It's educational. It in a way that other games aren't. It's some games you'll learn things, but this really goes out of its way, and it's in its nature to educate you about things in the past and locations and buildings, and history is threaded in the fictitious story of the Templars and the
Yeah, because it
Assassins.
tells you about like
Yeah.
the history of buildings and stuff.
and some famous characters are in there, like in 2, Leonardo da
Yeah,
Vinci. I
Leonardo's
thought
a
it was
big
so
one.
brilliant, and not only that, it had his inventions because he was an inventor as well as a painter.
And a
And
mathematician.
you know he was the first
everything else
person
he
that
did.
invented some kind of flying machine, but
A
he never
helicopter,
tested
yeah.
it out. It was like a big wooden,
He had the theory for a computer.
yeah,
and
like a
everything.
wooden bird almost on this. But yeah, exactly. And you use this and you fly it in the game, and I thought it was brilliant. You know, he also did like the hook shot. So I don't know if that was just made up or he actually did that, but in real life. But I thought it was really good, and that's something that I really like. I mean, the like 2, Brotherhood and Revelations, they work really well. I think Revelations is only good if you played the first 2 of that trilogy.
I
And-
played 2 in Brotherhood.
And not only that, Brotherhood is, to me, I got more out of it because I played the first one, because it goes back to memories of Altair
Altair.
after you finish the first one. So it really took me back, and it finishes. I love the way it finishes because there's a moment, without going, just outright spoiling it. There's just a moment where essentially you go through. Everyone comes together, like Altair's memories, Ezio's memories, and Desmond, who's in the modern day world,
Yeah.
are all kind of conscious of one another at that one point in time, or they kind of together in a moment, and it's symbolic, and it's like a good ending. It's not as long as the others. It doesn't bring a lot of new mechanics in there, and I don't think the main story is quite as interesting
I
as
think that's why I got bored.
Two-
Was lack of
2 and
mechanics.
Brotherhood. The story was intense. I loved the storyline. That was like the Borgio family, and I loved that.
Oh yeah, the
That-
Borgias.
They were badasses, and they were like Templars, and it ran deep, and there was like Ezio right at the beginning of 2. Ezio's family, half of it gets killed. Like his dad and his 2 of his brothers. They get killed, hung.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it
he
turns
shoots
out to be
off
part of a
them early
deeper
on, yeah.
conspiracy, because his dad's opening his mouth when he shouldn't be doing, and a friend of the family turns out not to be a friend of the family, and then so we start the actual journey
Yeah.
of trying to stop this family. But it runs deeper. You learn about the assassinations and how he gets on with his uncle, and then things happen with his uncle, and then you've got the Brotherhood, and Brotherhood is about aligning yourself with getting allies, basically,
Yeah, the
in
Order.
the creed to help you together. So it's kind of a big movement. Third one, similar sort of thing to Brotherhood in a different area, but the story's different. It's set in Constantinople, which is Istanbul,
Yeah.
back then, and that's more like the Turkish Ottomans, sultans, and that Janissaries, and it's a different storyline. But he's a lot older now, Ezio, and he's trying to go and find a hidden library. So that's that. The library relates to the first game, but it kind of doesn't really. Most of the game is kind of its own story, and it doesn't feel like you're not as attached to it like you were, because you've just done 2 big stories. But that was that anyway, and I really did enjoy it. There's some DLC on that it's interesting from a story point of view, but I'd say it's well not worth it, because it's like about £8 to buy. It's quite boring. It's the first person sections in Revelations, but if you go on YouTube, someone's done like a complete video on that, and that's for about an hour. You watch it and you get extra information that's really useful for when you go to play 3.
Yeah.
And since playing 3, it's a direct sequel, and I love that as well. There's, even though the games are individual, the modern day Desmond world is so far has been connected, and I feel it feels like, to me, more like a TV series. And the only other game that's got that feel to it is Mass Effect. It feels like one huge game, and like a lot of people are really invested in series and TV series. It's got a similar kind of feel to it, and it makes it feel like one long journey. You feel like you've been on a mission, and I wouldn't want every game to be like that, but I like that those two, like Mass Effect and Assassin's Creed, specifically for that reason. And you don't often get it, you know, especially when a game's like, it needs to appeal to new people to the scene. It needs to have fresh ideas and not rely too much on past things and past knowledge. But it's good when they do allow for that, because you definitely get more out of it. You know, I've played also around then Army of Two. I think that was a co-op title as well. We finished Resistance and thought, oh yeah, we'll get Army of Two.
Army of Two is great.
It was never my option to get my idea.
It's hilarious. It's shits and giggles more than it is a story.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the best game in the world, but it definitely is good as a co-op game, because you play as two guys that are like sort of in some sort of secret military organization.
You play like a team of two.
Then you get, you know, like turned on, and then, you know, put into a situation where, you know, everyone's against you and stuff, and but it really works as working as a partnership together. But apparently, like, using it as a single player game and relying on AI is horrific.
Yeah, it's crap.
Yeah.
It was a lot better when you had
yeah.
someone with you.
Another game going down further down the year, Dead Island, Riptide.
I hate Dead Island.
I used to hate it until I went back through it a second time, and I actually grew to like it. And I think part of that was because I upgraded my TV. I got a Pioneer TV from a little like 23-inch crappy old LG screen, which wasn't like an LCD screen that was probably worth about 125 when I bought it. I managed to pick up a huge 43-inch plasma Pioneer TV, really, really, really good quality and depth, and it felt like a different game when I whacked it on. And I got drawn into it because I found things that I'd never seen the first time when I went through it. So I thought, no, I'll get Riptide. Pretty much more of the same thing. It was one of the worst endings I played in the game. It was so crap. But you know, it's all right. If you don't like the first one, you'd hate it. Yeah, and I'd never expected to get this. Only because I went back through the first one and thought, you know what, it's not too bad. I thought I'll do it just to go through it, you know. Because I thought at some point I'll probably play Dead Island 2, because that was due to come out, but I think it's been delayed because of what's it called, that game that came out by Techland, the same people, Dying Light. That's it.
Dying Light. I've heard the name. I don't know what the game's about though.
It's very similar mechanics to Dead Island, but it's got a more day and night theme, like mechanic, where if you go at night, it's really dangerous, but it's also got a parkour mechanic as well, where you can quickly jump. So there's more of there's a few tweaks on it, and plus obviously it's better graphics. But I've always rated the graphics of Dead Island. That's something that drew me in. You start off and you're on a beach and that, and the setting and just the colour and the feel, it really, really felt good. And
I don't know what, like, maybe it was the people I played it with. They were a bunch of arseholes, but
what put me off after a while was just the repetitiveness of like the fetch quests and how they got boring. But you know,
it did kind of seem like a badly written MMO. Yeah. Go do this, bring this back here.
But then again, I see the same with Borderlands. Is very similar, you know.
I
in
expected
terms of that.
It from Borderlands, because with Borderlands I knew what I was getting into.
Borderlands,
this is an RPG, this is your stereotypical
I
RPG.
personally prefer Dead Island over Borderlands, like in terms of like what you do and stuff.
The comedy was too much in Borderlands.
Dead Island's intended really as a co-op game. I think that's what it is at its core, and I can imagine, to me personally, I would have preferred Dead Island as a co-op game, but like Borderlands, I couldn't play that as a single player game.
No,
Really couldn't do that.
Borderlands is the 4-player co-op.
It
There's
really,
4
it gets,
different
after a while you
characters,
think,
yeah.
what am I doing? I'm getting these nuts and bolts for someone, or now I'm getting some tinned food for someone, or now I'm like fixing these dishes by going up to 8 different boxes and pressing this button, and after a while you just, I mean, there is a storyline to it, and it kind of gets in there, but after a while it's more about just doing repetitive fetch quests and more open up and up and
I
up.
think it's harder to, like, you sift through the side quests of Borderlands to find the main story. There's a lot of shit before you get to the good part.
I've started that. It's not one I've finished, but that's a few months ago I started that with a housemate, and we've been playing that on co-op, and I think now that I've got the mechanics and the suited, like, I understand what's going on. I am enjoying it. It's one that we come back to every now and again because we're both busy. We don't always have time to play on it.
Right, I'm butting in at the moment. I've just made a little bit of an audio cut. We're going to end this particular show because we don't really want to go over an hour. We've been doing that quite a few times, and
Yep,
what
so
we're going to do, technically this entire show is actually going to be probably about a couple of hours, but we're going to split it up into 2 parts. So this is the end. So hopefully soon you'll hear the next episode will come up, and it'll be part 2 of episode 6. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. Until next time.
Until next time, lads.
Yeah.
And lasses.
We'll be back.
Bye. See
See you later.